All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our 4th episode of Rogues Gallery Live. I apologize. We had some technical difficulties, but I'm so thankful for everybody in the chat for sticking around, and I hope you share this video because I want as many people in the chat as possible. Tonight, we are celebrating my 2-year anniversary here on YouTube as the Batman Statue Collector. I can't believe it's been 2 years. And I wanted to celebrate in a really big way. So we have lots going on tonight. We have awesome people in the gallery itself. We have an awesome, amazing guest tonight. I can't believe he's here. So cool. And then also, we are going to be doing 5 giveaways tonight. I'll explain that here as soon as I introduce everybody. And then I'll explain how I'm going to do the giveaways. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Centauri Starfry.
Howdy.
We also have Mr. Jeff Morris.
Hi, everybody.
We have the amazing Jason Stillwell.
Hello.
We, of course, have the Dark Lord himself, Thor Gunnarsson.
We are honored that we could join you.
And, of course, we have Rodney Punisher Jones.
What's up, Frank Castle in Gotham?
That's right, absolutely. And then, of course, we have the Paradox Nerd himself, PJ.
What's up, guys? Congratulations. Happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. We also have Lawrence Ohl in the chat, or in the group tonight. Thank you very much, Lawrence, for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Sounds like I need to get a nickname.
That's right. I need to come up with one for you. That's right. And then, of course, our amazing special guest tonight. He is the owner and creative director of Tweeterhead. Mr. Chad Colebank is here tonight. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. So what did I win?
Lots of stuff. Well, speaking of winning, before we get started to do the interview with Chad, I wanted to kind of explain how the giveaways are going to work tonight. So Jeff is going to be recording everybody's name that's in the chat. And all you have to do to win or to be eligible to win is to participate in the chat. Ask questions, interact with other people in the chat, good fellowship with other collectors. And so that is basically it. From time to time throughout the video tonight, we'll stop and pause. Jeff's going to draw out of a hat, and we're going to show the winner live. So there's going to be 5 winners live on the show. If you are a U.S. winner, I will pay for shipping. If it is an international winner, then I ask that you pay for shipping, and we'll kind of go from there. Do you feel like I missed anything, guys, on that?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Good luck to everybody.
Thank you very much. Again, we are giving away the 2 die-cast figures here. We are giving away the Harley Quinn Puddin' Pop, and that's courtesy of Cryptozoic Entertainment. And we also have, courtesy of Sideshow Collectibles, the Suicide Squad Hot Toys Joker. Going to be giving that. And then, of course, courtesy of Tweeterhead, we have the Bud and Lou maquette. Wow. So really excited about that. So an absolutely beautiful statue, and I'm just so excited that we're giving all these things away throughout the chat. But let's get started with the interview first. And Mr. Colebank, how's it going tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Great.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so you got to forgive me.
Well, it means a lot to me that you chose our show to do it first. And
no problem.
We're all big fans of Tweeterhead here, and so we have lots of questions. Basically, we've all kind of divvied them out, so we're all going to ask you a question. We're going to be asking questions from fans and also questions from the live chat. So if you're in the live chat, make sure that you're asking questions for Chad, and we'll try to get as many of them answered as we can, okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so the first question, Lawrence, you had the first question.
Yeah, so Chad, thanks for joining us, sir. I really appreciate it. It's good to meet you digitally. And the question I have for you, I'm curious about your passion and kind of as a kid, what you collected or what you collected growing up.
So, growing up, for the most part, it was DC Comics. Like, I've never looked at a Marvel comic in my whole life. I've never owned one or opened one. I don't know why. But my dad would always take us to this little 5 and Dime town in Morgantown, West Virginia, where I'm from. And it was just always Batman. That's what I was drawn to. And then as I got older, it was like Superpowers collection, and then some G.I. Joe and some other stuff, but basically it was just always DC Comics. Like, it's just what I've always loved. And so that's where my passion kind of lies,
All right, that's great. Thank you.
But also to go on to that is the whenever I was a kid, the 66 Batman TV show, I, as a little teeny tiny kid, because when we were younger, they didn't play, like, you couldn't just watch something. You had to like catch the reruns, or if you saw it originally, it was not going to be coming back, right? And so with the reruns, whenever I was wee little, I remember they were showing the Batman 66 reruns, and then I just remembered Yvonne Craig as Batgirl. And then from my like really, really, whenever I was like a baby, until, I don't know, when I was like 13 years old, every time Batman was on TV, it was the movie, the 66 movie. And I kept waiting for Batgirl to come on, and she never came on. And I thought I was dreaming it. And then all of a sudden, one winter, some Pittsburgh channel started replaying all the 66 episodes. And we got to season 3, and I was like, holy crap, I'm not crazy. There really is a Batgirl. There's Yvonne Craig. So it's always been always been Batman. And then I kind of grew into DC stuff.
Okay.
And then
That's
He-Man,
cool.
of course, which I see behind you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, Lawrence is a big He-Man fan. That's awesome.
Yeah. I wish I could tell you what we have cooking with He-Man, but I can't.
Oh man.
I think there were some questions coming later for you, so I'm gonna have you be ready, Chad, for that, because I know people are curious.
Yeah, especially me.
Well, I had the second question. Why did you start Tweeterhead, and what was the process like getting it off the ground?
You know what? It was really weird. I was in finance my whole career, and I got laid off. And I used to collect model kits in the late 80s, early 90s. I was like a model kit nut, Amazing Figure Modeler. Do you guys know that magazine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So David Fisher, I've known him for like 25 years. He's a really good friend of mine. And I used to be a model kit junkie, although I couldn't paint them or do anything. I just would send them to David to paint, right? And so then I kind of fell out of everything, had like my career, got laid off, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to go back to a kind of fun. And, I wonder what's going on in that model kit community. And then I realized it had gotten much smaller, but what had happened is this pre-painted statue community had just exploded, which I wasn't aware of. So I started off really little. I don't know if any of you remember, but Tweeterhead was like a model kit company to start. And we had a couple little model kits. I did some stuff, some re-releases of Tony McVeigh stuff. I don't know if you know Tony McVeigh or not. And he did like Dracula, Frankenstein. He did a bunch of cool kits. And then I did this pinup witch called Kimba. I don't know if anybody's seen her. If you Google her, we only made 300 of her, but I did her as a model kit. And then the people that I was selling it to loved it. I took her to shows, and people wanted to get her pre-painted because they couldn't paint it. And that was when it was like, oh, let me just investigate this a little bit. And again, thanks to David, he had connections in China. And then I got Kimba produced. I only made 300. And I mean, knock on wood, I met a guy named Matt Black who works at Sideshow, who sculpted like a ton of incredible stuff. And we met in a kind of unusual way over statue forums, messages. And he was like, hey, why don't you come into Sideshow? And those guys, if it wasn't for Sideshow Collectibles, I would not be here talking to you guys. And if it wasn't for Matt, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys. So they really kind of like held my hand through the whole process. And then, so I had my Kimba pre-painted statue, which sold okay. I mean, I only made 300, but she was super cute. She's coming back next year as a bigger scale piece. But at that point, I was talking to a guy named Frank from Mobius Models. Do you guys know Mobius?
I heard of it.
Yeah. And so Frank said to me, he said, oh, Chad, you know what? How's it going? And I said, it's going, but it's kind of like a big hobby at the moment because it's not really making a ton of money or making a lot of money or making any money. And he's like, well, if you want to make money, you have to do a licensed character, like somebody people love, someone people recognize. And who do you love? And I said, oh my God, I love Elvira. And so he knew Elvira's manager and put me in contact with Scott Marcus. And it all just happened from there. And luckily, she's a doll. She's fantastic. So good to work with. And then I kind of got involved with Warner Brothers after the 66 licenses had pretty much all been given out. And I just had to figure out how am I going to carve my way into that, because that's what I mean, I wanted to do the 66 stuff more than anything. Like, I love that TV show.
Yeah.
And it was just like going to them and bugging them. And at one point they said to me, they said, like, Chad, you are becoming that guy. Like, when we say you're on the phone, nobody wants to answer the phone. And I just begged and begged and begged. And, you know, I've been really fortunate. I mean, I'm just like everybody. I'm not like all you guys. I mean, I love this stuff. I love to collect it. And, you know, it's one of these things where, you know, I just was hoping to make it work, and it worked out. It's worked out really well, you know?
So you mentioned Warner Brothers. Did you already know somebody there? Or did you literally just knock on their front door and say, this is what I want?
My buddy at Sideshow gave me one of my, you know, the guy that handles my stuff gave me his email. And so I just started bugging him.
That's really awesome. Really cool. And the rest is history, right?
Yeah, let's hope so.
That's right. Let's see. I think the next question goes to Jeff.
Hi, Chad.
Hey.
Where does the name Tweeterhead come from, and what does it mean?
You know what? It is just a nickname that I've had for about 11 years. And I wanted something kind of fun, something people could like recognize, something people were like, oh my God, you know, it's not just some, you know, boring name. And I was just like, oh, it's called Tweeterhead. It's perfect. And then I could remember it too. So it was kind of easy.
Cool.
It's not a great story.
Are you asked that all the time? I would imagine you are from time to time.
I am pretty often. There is a longer backstory, but it would take a long time to tell you the whole story.
Well, it's a cool name. It's definitely eye-catching, that's for sure. Did you design the first logo with the
you know what?
eyeball?
Yeah, I knew what I wanted. Like, I wanted something kind of funky and cool. And there's a guy in San Francisco, and his name is Matt Stromberg. And you could find him. I forget what his handle is on Facebook, but he's a really cool artist. And I was walking by this comic book store, and there was a piece of his artwork that they had used as the like ad for the comic book store. And it was really cool. And so I was like, oh, I want that guy to do it. And so when we met, I told him, you know, oh, Tweeterhead. Obviously, I wanted it to be like a bird or something, and maybe my head could be there and could be pulling my eyeball out. But the part we didn't do, the part I wanted it to be pulling my eyeball out and feeding it to the baby birds in the nest. Because have you ever seen that Nestle ad? You know, Nestle, it's the bird's nest with a mom bird and the babies. So I wanted to try to play off the whole Nestle thing, but he was like, it's too busy. It's just too much stuff. So, and then it got to be, I don't know. Then I just wanted to change it a little bit. So I talked to a friend of mine, and we were going to change it up. And so now we have that new logo, which is just, you know, Tweeterhead with like a little top hat.
Well, what was the inspiration for the top hat?
You know what? I just love top hats. And there is a friend of mine, you guys, Dita Von Teese, you might know her, and she is famous for wearing a top hat and her tux in her burlesque act. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do a little top hat. Why not?
Yeah, it looks very classy, I think. I really like it.
It's cool. It's so much more understated than this big bird ripping my eye out, you know?
Dita Von Teese, didn't she date Marilyn Manson?
That's what I was thinking.
No, she was married to him.
Oh, yeah, married. Yeah, duh. Yeah, she wore like, I remember her. She had like those corsets that was really tight, right? And she was able to
she's a great gal.
Yeah.
She's not an ugly lady.
No. Very fine.
So there were so many technical difficulties. I'm going to add one more. I've got to go get my cord and plug it in, or my battery's going to die. So can everybody hold tight for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this would maybe be a good segue to do a giveaway.
Oh, great! Yeah, that's how I planned it that way.
Absolutely. All right. What do you think? What do you think we should give away first?
How about the Harley? Or that one. Joker.
Can I get this one out first? Okay, so this is again the Joker. It's the Metals diecast. It's from the Suicide Squad, and so any Joker fans out there, again, if you're a U.S. resident, I will pay for shipping. If you're an international winner, I do ask that you do pay for shipping. Here is how you contact me: thebatmanstatuecollector@gmail.com. Message me, let me know what you won. I'll verify it with Jeff. And again, it's thebatmanstatuecollector@gmail.com. Okay? I'll put that information down in the show notes as well if you forget. Again, if you win, contact me and I'll get this shipped out to you. Okay. All right. So the winner of the Joker metal die-cast figure, Jeff. Drum roll, everybody.
Evil Nug 541.
Evil
Nug 541.
All right. Congratulations. We have our first winner. Very cool.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Cool. Congrats.
All right. Again, make sure you email me, thebatmanstatuecollector@gmail.com, and you will get this as soon as possible. So I'll get that shipped out to you. So congratulations there. Absolutely.
I'm back. Did I win?
Yeah, you did it. Oh, no, you did it.
I want those dogs, damn it.
That's right. That's right. So congratulations to our winner, and let's get back to the interview. I think Stir Fry, I think you had the next question.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Chad.
Yeah, you too.
Another question, the coolest thing, I've noticed is some of these poses that, like the Martian Manhunter, how these things look. What's the process? Do you usually sketch these out yourself, or does it begin with you, or does it begin with the sculptors, or how's that relationship work, and how does it begin?
It's kind of weird. So you guys know, I think you're familiar with the people I work with a lot. So I work with Matt, work with Jack Matthews, work with Paul Harding, and they're all very different. But some stuff is really easy. Like if there's stuff that I know that I really want to do, I kind of know what the pose is. And then like with my Batman that I did, I knew that like I had so many people pitching stuff to me like the Sideshow Daredevil where he's kind of hunched down and stuff like that. But I was like, I don't want to make a million Batman statues. So I want to make like a really iconic pose. And so let's just have him up, on something, the cape flowing like really dramatically. But then there's other stuff like our Wonder Woman, Cheetah, a couple other pieces that Jose Garcia Lopez designed for us, which those are really cool. And then other stuff, just like Martian Manhunter was all Jason Wires and Paul Harding. I had nothing to do with that. They just were like, let's just do it this way. Jason specifically wanted the base to be like kind of this Martian artifact, on Mars. And then Paul did that really dramatic cape. But yeah, it's just a combo, There's some stuff like my Catwoman that I did, with the purple dress on and the green cape. That was like all me. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted her like up on a roof. I wanted her just completing like, this gigantic heist. And, if you've ordered it, you'll see like the little jewel bag that comes with her is just filled with Swarovski crystals. And then there's a cool wanted poster that Jose did for us and all of that stuff. And that's what I'm going to wait until she's actually available and people have her to do a little giveaway. But all of that whole Catwoman scene is all basically from a George Perez piece of artwork from Batman 3D. I don't know. Are you familiar with that or no?
The 3D book that came out like in the 90s?
Yeah. There's a pinup like in the back, and it's Batman. It's Catwoman up on the top of like a roof.
Yeah.
And she's like all reclined, and she's looking super sexy. And then Batman is down. Batman is down below, looking at a wanted poster of her. Okay. So if you look at our Catwoman, the wanted poster is taken from that, and then also all the little finials that she's up there, the little like things on the roof by her, those are all on there as well. So it's a real combo, It's like, Jose designed our Cheetah, and no one's seen her yet. Chris has seen some like work in progress shots of her, but that's just something he did for us. So it's really across the board, you know what I mean? It's like and then sometimes I'll poll like the people that follow my Facebook page, Statue Forum. We're about to start a Hawk Girl in January, and that's something that I'd ask the people on Statue Forum, like, hey, pick a character, I'll do it. Thank God they picked Hawk Girl because she was already in the roster for next year. But I want to show them and you guys and everyone that's going to participate, like, hey, let's show you from the beginning to the end, and let's start off with some concept sketches. Let's all choose it. Then let's follow through because, like I was saying to Chris, like there's so much stuff behind the scenes that we can't explain, or that if I do a video, I can tell you guys, oh, this thing might be late, or something might be a little later than expected, or it's different. But until you see the whole process, like, man, making a prototype is super easy, but after that, it gets really tough. So getting it back here and into your house, it's like, being on this side of it, when I look at some of the comments and they're like, oh, this thing arrived broken, I'm like, oh, it sucks. But, if you just knew all the steps to get that thing to your house, it takes so much. But again, I think showing people and getting people involved, and, if we have, like, if something's coming in and customs decides to do some, it's called an intense examination, where they will empty the whole container and go through multiple pieces. Then they'll just throw it back in the container and send it back, to me, or send it back to, whoever the shipper. That can put like an extra 2 weeks on the delivery time. So like, there's so much stuff behind the scenes that I wish you guys knew about, because it would make this collecting kind of world and family we have like a lot easier to understand, I think,
And that's why I think, you telling us the process is so important, because I think people do get really mad. They kind of jump to conclusions, but sometimes the companies aren't always transparent to know what those steps were. So I think sometimes if we knew the steps, we would, maybe the collectors would be a little more considerate or understanding of what the process is.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, I don't want to fall into this category of, oh, they're just another company that's always late, or, and like I said, I did a video a couple months ago where I told you guys, like I said, like, I was being really aggressive, trying to knock stuff out in like 6 or 7 months. But I'm like, and then it would be late. People would be aggravated. I would be up all night, like, on the phone. That's the other part, is like, if I'm on the phone with my factories, it's all at like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's their morning over there and their afternoon. But, it's one of those things where it's just, there's so many more components that I just think if it was more transparent across the board, everyone would be so much happier, Yeah. And so for me too, like I said, I was being aggressive and putting like a 6 or 7 month, I'll turn it around in that amount of time. And then if there's one hiccup, like if one paint master and casting master on its way to Hong Kong gets lost, I mean, we go back to square one, and thank God we have extras, but then it's still going to delay things for a couple of weeks. So it's just something where, I'm like, I always say on my little videos I do on my Facebook page, I have a list of questions that this really nice guy puts together. He gets them from all over the internet. He goes by Graphic on Statue Forum Graphics. I don't know if you guys know him or not.
Yeah. I've seen the name.
Richard Eldridge, I think is his name, or David Eldridge. It's either or, but he gets all the questions for me. And I always say, like on my video, like I'll read them live on air, good, bad, and the ugly. Like if someone's like, "Oh, your Harley Quinn sucks. Why?" Oh, okay. I'm not going to censor what people want to talk about,
Yeah.
Well,
I think the collectors appreciate that. I mean, they really do.
I hope so. I mean, that's the easiest way. I told you I could post like a whole paragraph on Facebook about why something's late, or why something might be different, or something we want to do differently than what we released already. And no one will read it. No one will like it. But then if I just go and talk to people about it, talk to the customers, I don't even care if people are customers, as long as they're just like kind of fans of what we do. They don't have to buy it. As long as they just support us through social media and support us through, different channels that we go out on. It's just so much easier to be face to face with people, Yeah,
absolutely.
That's why San Diego Comic-Con is so cool, because at San Diego, people will come up and they're perfect strangers, and they'll be, "Oh my God, I know who you are. I've been selling stuff to you for 3 years, and you're Mr. 17, because this guy only collects number 17 of everything." So
that's really cool.
I have a quick question. Are you going to come to New York Comic-Con? I know this is out of my turn, but I'm curious, since you mentioned San Diego Comic-Con, because I live close by, and San Diego is so hard to get to or get tickets for. So will you make a trip out to New York Comic-Con one of these days? Or
you know what? I would love to. I was actually there this past year, but just like as a spectator. And I got to tell you, like, I thought San Diego was crazy. New York Comic-Con, I was there on a Sunday afternoon, and I lasted like 45 minutes because it was so packed. Like I went into the XM booth, I went into the Sideshow booth, and I couldn't even get near the stuff because there were so many people. But I would love to be a part of that, and I think eventually it's going to happen. I'm not sure exactly how, because I think it's a little bit more. I lucked in, and again, I'll tell you really quickly. Like, I would not be at San Diego Comic-Con if it wasn't for Olivia de Berardinis. Do you know her, the Queen of Pinup Art?
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, Olivia. So, I'll go back a little bit. Whenever I did my Kimba, my little pinup witch, I sent it out to 3 people because I was like, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But I'm like, I sent it out to 3 people: Olivia, Elvira, and Dita Von Teese, and I just like them, and I thought, oh, maybe they could help promote it. Maybe it'll be something cool. I had no idea what it was going to turn into. And Olivia was the first one to write back, and she wrote back this amazing long email, and you've got to come visit me, blah, blah, blah. And then very next year, she said, we're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. Why don't you share our booth? And she's been there for years. I mean, she's been there for 20 years easily. Why don't you share our booth? And then as it got closer, she said, you know what, we can't make it. Something came up, but I don't want to let my booth go because we'll never get it back. Why don't you just take it over for that year? But I want it back next year. And that was the year that I had it all to myself. And that was when my 66 Adam West Batman piece came out, and we had Adam West in our booth to unveil it.
Wow.
Nice.
So it would have been nice if people knew who Tweeterhead was, but we had I put it on Facebook, and nobody saw it. So we had maybe 200 people there. If we did it last year or the year before, we'd have 1 million more people, which would have been really cool. But yeah, there was nothing like walking Adam into the Comic-Con hall and just trying to get him to my booth. And I think we had him up on an apple crate to stand on behind my booth. It was just not great. I would have done it so differently today, but it was one of those things but to go to New York Comic-Con, I would love to be part of it. I don't really know how, because I lucked my way into San Diego. I mean, really, after Adam was in the booth, they were like, you could come back every year. It's fine. But if not, I'd still be on the waiting list, I'm sure,
Yeah.
Well, I am going to try to go to New York this year, and maybe Sideshow can hook you up. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I talked to my wife, and she's like, let's do it. So we're going to try.
It was so crazy. I mean,
It
you
is.
could not even walk. And I was there. So I was there the weekend before because I do a bunch of stuff for RuPaul and for RuPaul's Drag Race. And we were there for RuPaul's Drag Con, and it was at the Javits Center. And I was walking around, and they had that. It was busy, but it wasn't busy. Yeah. And then I went the next weekend, and I was like, holy crap. Where am I? I don't know where I am. It was they compressed the whole convention the weekend before into a hall, one of the halls. It was crazy. But
yeah, I've been going to New York Comic-Con for ever since it first came to New York, and I have to say, we outgrew Jacob Javits completely. I think we had the most attendance in New York Comic-Con than San Diego, from what I was reading, and it's one of those things to see a lot of the statue companies making their way back, because we're like the redheaded stepchild. No one ever comes to New York Comic-Con, but we have the most attendees. Yeah, and now more companies are making their way out there, which is good. And I would love to see you out there. I'm pretty sure everyone else that goes to New York.
Yeah, I would love to go. I think it'd be awesome. Yeah. Cool. I mean, it was certainly. I mean, there's worse things than to have a gazillion people in the convention center. You know what I mean?
That's right. Well, let's go to, I think, Thor, you have the next question if you'd like to ask us, sir.
Yes. Evening, Chad. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So to date, what is your favorite Tweeterhead piece that you've produced? I can tell you mine is the Joker so far, because it's. I always wanted a Joker piece, but for some reason not right. You know what I mean? But yours, automatically, I like how dapper he looks and everything, and holding the cards, and that's how I want my Joker to look. So that's my favorite Tweeterhead piece so far.
Thanks.
But what's yours?
Thor, are you talking about this one right here?
You're talking about that one right there. I seen him behind you.
Yeah, that one right there. There he is.
Yeah. With the gas.
Beautiful.
It's
you know what's so funny is so are you guys? You know who Jason Wires is, or you don't know who he is?
Yes.
Yep. Jason Wires, he is like in this whole industry, he is one of the guys in the middle that we all work with, and he prints. He paints, he casts, he molds. He can do everything and anything. And he had approached me about helping out on a couple projects because he's just as passionate as I am. And I had never heard of Paul Harding before in my life. And he just said to me, you know, I've got this guy, Paul, his favorite character is the Joker. He'd love to do it. Do you mind? And, you know, I wish it was more exciting, but I had nothing to do with that Joker piece. Like, it was just like, it was all in Paul's head. And Jason was like, you know, we want to have gas tanks and the gas and the cards are in the gas. And I remember trying to talk him out of all the cards in the gas because I'm like, that's going to be a nightmare in production. Don't do it. Don't do it. And it came out so well. And Paul also did the dogs, which if you look at those faces on the dogs, they're just so incredible. There's like so much there. It's so it was just, again, it was like a lucky thing. Oh, but my favorite piece, boy, it's weird. So, you know, like my favorite piece, like it's funny. Like I've got a couple. Like obviously, that first Elvira I did is what it launched me because I got to know her, and I had 212 Facebook followers before she announced it. And you know how when you get like somebody likes your page, it's like ding. I just heard this ding that lasted for 48 hours. It went up to like 7,200 fans in the course of like a couple hours. Yeah, I mean, she's got like 2 million followers throughout her social media. Yeah. And so that first piece, in fact, I've got some paint masters here, which I can't obviously keep every single thing I've ever done. And I've got some paint masters here that I was thinking about giving away as gifts or raffling for charity. And you know, you guys know what we did with Chris with the big giant Batman. And so I was thinking like, this stuff is just in boxes. Like, what am I going to do with it? And one of them was that first Elvira. And so I won't say who I was going to send it to, but I was going to send it to somebody that's been really great to me. And I opened it up and I was like, oh, damn it. I can't send this. Like, I can't do it. Like, it's just, it means too much because it was the first one. Right. But that's Elvira. So that's the first Elvira is one of my favorites. Yvonne Craig, Batgirl from the 60s show. Well, Julie Newmar is one also. And I'll tell you a couple funny stories. So with Julie, I announced it on Facebook, like so incredibly naively. Like I just put it out there and my friend wrote and he's like, hey, aren't you going to put your company name on the picture at all? Like, so people know where to go to find it or see it. And all of a sudden I got a Facebook message and it was this guy and he said, hey, has Julie seen that or not? And I said, I don't know. She saw it through Warner Brothers because she had to approve it. Right. And so he wrote back and it was he sent me her phone number and he said, oh, call her and introduce yourself. She'd love to see it. And so I happened to be in LA at the time. And I was like, this guy's either a total cuckoo bird and just gave me like a random phone number, or he just gave me Julie Newmar's phone number. Right. So I called it and I was like, please don't answer. Please don't answer. Please don't answer. And then it went to her message and sure enough, it was Julie Newmar. And I left a message and I was like, oh, God, thank God. And 5 minutes later, my phone rang and it was her. It was that phone number calling me back. So I like died. And she said, oh, what are you doing? And I said, I'm in LA. I had this pitch meeting at Warner Brothers. And she said, oh, well, come to my house. Come over at 1:30. Here's my address.
Stop.
So, oh, wow. It was just like one of these, oh my God moments where, you know, just meeting like an icon. So Elvira, Julie, and then Yvonne, who I won't tell the story, but we showed her Trevor Grove, who sculpts all of my Batman 66 stuff and my Munster stuff. He is phenomenal. We all went to Yvonne's house probably like a month before she passed away and showed her our statue, and she freaking loved it. And, you know, of course, nobody knew she was going to pass away. And it was like, she was a wonderful person. She kept in contact quite a bit after we showed it to her, you know, as things were even getting worse for her, which we weren't aware of. So Elvira, Julie, Yvonne, and then if we jump, like I love all my Munsters, but if we jump into like the Superpowers collection, which is something which I say to myself all the time, I'm like, God damn, why didn't I do this 4 years ago or 5 years ago? Because at this point we could have like 100 characters. But in the superpowers line, my favorite is so far. You guys haven't seen Batgirl yet, who she might take the place of my favorite.
I have. She's amazing, guys. You're gonna love her. You're gonna love her.
Because there are little bits of Yvonne Craig's Batgirl in there, and we did some iconic stuff, like she's got her purse that that crazy red purse on her side, which will be the exclusive. You can take it off. But as far as the superpower stuff, I think my favorite is that Catwoman. Like, I have always wanted a Catwoman in that purple dress and big green cape, and no one's ever really done it. I know DC's done it twice, a black and white Batman version, and they did one of her fighting Batgirl, but they weren't that kind of elegant, beautiful, what I wanted to see. And so, I just wanted to do something crazy. And, I don't know, there's some woman walking around fighting people in a giant dress. You know what I mean? It's just, the whole thing is kind of crazy when you think about it. But I think we did a great job on her. And Jack Matthews, I think he just killed her. He is phenomenal with female characters. But so I think superpowers is Catwoman, and I think that's it. I think those are like my super big time favorites that I could never part with.
That's awesome. Well, along those same lines, Rodney, you have a similar question. Do you want to go ahead and ask yours?
Yeah, how you doing, Chad? Thanks for
good. How are you?
Good. Personal collection wise, what's your favorite statue or collectible that you have in your own collection?
Geez, Louise. Let me think. You know what? I go back to the, for me, there's been so much stuff lately and so much stuff. And, Sideshow, kind of started off this whole quarter scale movement with the giant statues. And they're so fantastic. But for me, I always go back to that Randy Bowen, the first Batman he did for DC. Remember that? Where it was climbing up the gargoyle.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing is so old at this point. I mean, it's so like what was that? 81 that thing came out. I think it was like the first. It was like, because I think he did Sandman for DC, and I think that was like the first real statue. Oh, that's it. Somebody just put it up there. But but that was like the first statue of a comic book character kind of ever, I think, right?
I think so. PJ, talk a little bit so you can see the
okay.
statue on there.
Well, you can click on them too, Chris, and then it'll,
if I just click on it,
yeah. Click, and then
then when he's done, click on him again, and it'll go back.
Okay, thank you very much, Thor.
No problem.
Yeah, that's a great piece.
Someone just and that's, I mean, you look at it, I mean, compared to today's standards, it's just so different. But I mean, back then, that thing was like, you looked at it, you're like, oh my God, that is so cool. And I just heard a funny story about the factory. I guess the factory dropped it and broke his head off.
Oh,
so they stuck it on, and that's why the neck is so long on it. That's folklore. That's something I just heard, so I don't know if that's true or not. But as far as stuff that I see that I love, I mean, I will always be like a Sideshow baby. Like, Sideshow does so many beautiful pieces. And I love their Batgirl. I love their Batwoman. She's fantastic. Although I don't know if we'll ever do a Batwoman, because I try to stay in that whole 80s, 90s theme. So if I did Batwoman, it would probably be the one in the yellow outfit and the red cape, which I would love to do her and Batgirl, and we might do them sooner than later. But no, Sideshow, I mean, that new Catwoman they just showed the other day is fantastic, where she's up on the statue. Like I said, I'm not a big Marvel fan, but their Black Widow they just came out with a little bit ago is fantastic. Their He-Man stuff is phenomenal, especially that Orko, which we made. And I love that piece. But their He-Man and Skeletor, they could literally go onto a movie set right now and they are better than any, I think, movie He-Man and Skeletor anyone could design. Like,
come on, man.
100% agree.
I mean, and I mean, that's Matt Black, Nathan Mansfield. I mean, all that filigree on Skeletor, that was all Nathan Mansfield sculpting that. I mean, it is so beautiful. There's She-Ra, Evelyn is great. What other one did they do? They did another one in there too, right?
So far, it's just those 4, I think.
Yeah, they did a classic. They did a classic Evelyn.
Yeah.
Well, if you got some kind of inside track, we need a Beast Man too.
We need to know.
Man would be nice.
Man at Arms, Trap Jaw.
Maybe Hordak?
Hordak. Oh yes, Hordak.
No.
Or Cyclops.
Like, if I had like a big dream would be like, I think
You can ready to show something.
Jason, here, let me.
Oh, he got all of them.
He's got.
Oh, that's 3 of them.
There we go,
Beast
Jason.
Man.
Yeah, Beastman. You gotta have Beastman. You gotta have Merman.
I need to see
Merman,
teeth and the whip and everything.
Sorry, it's kind of dark in here.
That's all right. Looks great. Great pieces. And Lawrence, you have both of those too, don't you?
Yeah, I've got them. They're back here.
Rodney got them too.
I've got.
Y'all all got them.
I got
Skeletor
over there.
Oh, there we go. There's Lawrence.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Skeletor. Don't have Evelyn though.
Yeah, they're phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't have.
Guys, does anyone have She-Ra? She-Ra's freaking awesome.
Oh, I have She-Ra, but I have to start boxing my stuff up. I've ran out of room, so I opened her,
God.
enjoyed her, and boxed her back up. and I've got David Ego going like this on the other screen right now because thank you. Because I ordered
Bam, thank you, ma'am. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, David is so awesome.
So I think too. I've got the old NECA pieces, Skeletor and He-Man, and those ones are really great. Those are circa 2005.
Yeah, their Merman bust. That Merman bust is fantastic, I think.
Yeah, and then I've got the life-size PCS He-Man bust, and then I've got Chad's your Tweeterhead Skeletor.
Oh yeah,
Signed by Alan Oppenheimer. So that's up here. Sorry for all the movement, but he's up there.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Grayskull and.
Oh man, we had big dreams for that line of bust. That was so early on. That was like early Tweeterhead.
So yeah, I actually connected with you directly to get that piece.
Oh really?
Yeah, back in the day, it was just you running the show. So
it still is. It's me and Debbie. You guys, if you've been to San Diego Comic-Con, you met Debbie. But yeah, it's just the two of us for the most part. So that's why I'm like, oh, please be patient. It's just the two of us. It's not like this, crazy giant company. But going back to what I like, I mean, the sideshow stuff is so fantastic. Like, I'm biased because I love all those guys anyways. Prime 1, I was just somewhere today and my buddy had the box for that big Thanos gauntlet thing. And it was from Prime. No, was it Prime 1, I guess? Or Hot Toys?
Hot Toys.
Was like as big as a bed. It was gigantic.
Yeah, I'm thinking about picking that up, but I'm not sure. I don't know where my wife would slap me with that gauntlet.
Yeah. It's so big, but it's incredible. I mean, some of the stuff coming out now, it's like, sometimes I feel like, oh God, the stuff we're doing, like, it's just like guys in tights or like Wonder Woman in her like traditional outfit. And it's not like hyper detailed or super dynamic, like realistic, but, I'm just trying to hit that era that I grew up with. I mean, if like, I wish I had it here. I should go grab it. But, there's a whole superpowers collection style guide from the 80s, which would just blow your mind if you saw the artwork in it. It's fantastic. But for me, it's like that Batman family, going to the supermarket or 7-Eleven or the comic book shop, which back then we didn't really have comic book shops. And, on the little spindly thing, there'd be the comics. Yeah. And, it would be one of those things like, I love Catwoman. I love Batgirl. I love a couple characters. And, back then you would go in and spin that little spindle and, oh, holy crap, like Batgirl's in this issue. Like, that was not just like an every issue thing. She didn't have her own comic. It was just like an appearance kind of thing, So there's a lot of stuff. I mean, like right now, like the next things we're coming out with, I think the sooner than later stuff is Shazam, Cheetah, those Wonder Twins, man, they are the hardest things I've ever made in my whole life because they've got to be perfect. And we just keep reworking them and moving them around and doing stuff with them. But there's a lot of stuff. But really, I just want to do stuff that, like, you guys, other people in the industry, other people that collect the stuff that they want and that they haven't been able to get. And it's not a big secret that, you know, Randy Bowen, what he did with Marvel back in the day, that's what I'm kind of modeling the Superpowers line after.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping that someday we have 200, 300 SKUs, and it's just like 300 different DC characters.
That's awesome. I want to say we're over 60 people in the chat, so thank you guys so very much. I know I've seen it almost up to 70, maybe higher. So thank you guys. I think it's time for another giveaway real quick, and you guys just mentioned Sideshow and Hot Toys. So let's give away a Sideshow Hot Toy.
Let's do it.
Damn.
All right. So Jeff, you're going to do the shuffling here. Again, he's been monitoring the chat for me, him and Lawrence. So here we go.
I'm a no popsicle.
What? What?
Wait, say that name again. I'm no popsicle.
I'm no popsicle.
I am NOPOPSICLE.
That's cool.
I'm a no popsicle.
I see him in the chat right there. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I have no popsicle. With a name like that, you deserve
I
this.
don't have a popsicle.
Make sure you come
got a
on.
joker.
I think there's a story behind that nickname.
Not sure I want to hear.
So make sure, again, you email me at thebatmanstatuecollector@gmail.com, and I'll get this shipped out to you. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Definitely.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
They should have to send a photo to prove they're no popsicle.
I know. Oh, send me a package of grape popsicles. That's my favorite. So you can bring that. So that's all right.
You can't have sugar.
Water. It's only for 30 days. We'll see how it goes. But anyway. All right. So I think, Jason, you're up for the next question. You have an interesting one.
Well, Chad, good to meet you. Talk to you.
Yeah.
If Tweeterhead, if you could have your dream piece made by Tweeterhead, or regardless of cost, or license for that matter, what would it be?
One dream piece, right?
And this is for you, not necessarily for collectors, but if you could have one dream piece made by your company or
like if I won the lotto or something.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what? I think oh boy. One dream piece. It would either be like a really gigantic recreation like of the 66 Batcave from the TV show, or a big giant Castle Grayskull, and you get Mark Taylor. This might be giving a little bit away too. Is you get Mark Taylor, who designed the front of the toy and the side of the toy, to design the other side of the toy and the back of the toy, and then like have because I mean I don't know, you guys do like He-Man, so it's like you ever wondered like what does the back of that thing look like, you know? And what does the other side look like? What does the top of it look like? So that would be it. Like, you know, like 6x6 and like, I don't know, 8 feet tall or something. That'd be fantastic.
Wow.
That'd be awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Good answer. Good answer. Let's see, PJ, I think you have the next one.
Hey, Chad, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
You know, big fan of your company. Where would you like to see your company 10 years from now?
Oh, geez. You know, I don't know. It's that's a good question, but you know, we started off really small, right? Like I made like our first year, we made a couple. I made like Herman, and there were like 3 months until the next one, 3 months until the next one, and you know, now we're trying to release like one thing a month, which that's like 12 things a year, right? Yeah. And so, you know, I don't know how much the industry can take. I mean, could I do 2 things a month, 3 things a month? Am I going to like, you know, it's because it's a niche market that collects the superpower stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, is like two pieces a month too much for people? So, I mean, I want to be here in 10 years. I'll say that. And I think in that time we will have like hopefully exhausted like the DC universe as far as the, you know, vintage kind of retro characters. But, you know, I don't know. I'd love to be like gigantic. I mean, hey, you know, XM, Sideshow, Prime One, Hot Toys, for crying out loud, Funko. Oh my God. Like, I mean, those guys are just ginormous. But there is something appealing about just being kind of small, just me and Deb and me and a couple other people. And, you know, just like catering to like the hardcore collectors and still having that like dialogue with people, you know, hey, what do you want to see? What do you like? What do you not like? Yeah. You know, if we release something and it doesn't sell like a gazillion pieces, it's still okay. You know, so, you know, I'd like to be here, but I can't really say, oh, I'd like to be like ginormous, you know, it's like, it's just, you know, because, you know, changing all the time that it's like, you just want to get a good footing and just, you know, I just would like to be kind of like, I'd still like to be what is happening now and has been happening like the past couple months. And actually this year, now that I started doing those live videos on my Facebook page, just like really connecting with people. And instead of just having customers that just order your stuff and buy it, like you actually have like a friendship with people and you know these people, and it's really cool. Like, I mean, I said it, I think it was on Chris, the one we did, you know, the auction that we did. It was like, you know, it's this, I started off thinking I'm just going to sell the stuff to people and I'm going to make stuff I like and people are going to get it. I didn't realize that, you know, we're all kind of like, you know, in the same big tribe where, you know, we all love this stuff, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, I love that it's so much more social even than it was like 5 years ago, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, Chad, is there like a certain license that like that you would like to capture at some point? You know, I know you would like to exhaust the DC line. You're working on He-Man. Is there something maybe you could hopefully not giving away too much or asking?
Yeah, no, something that I'd love to get.
That you grew up with. And
boy, so the Munsters were like my big get. Like that was something where I never knew that was going to happen. I didn't think that could happen. And it really kind of took me by surprise. And Trevor killed those pieces. I mean, and David Fisher, he painted all those pieces. You know what? There's stuff all the time that I see where I'm like, oh my God, you know, I wish I had been doing this like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, really seriously, where, you know, you could go after like a Game of Thrones license because I love that show. Right. Yeah. That would be great. Other stuff, you know, like, I mean, it's kind of wacky stuff. Like I started off like doing really kind of like, oh my, like, I'm sure everyone was like, oh my God, who's doing the Munsters, you know? But I wanted to do stuff that I wanted to collect that wasn't out there. So there's stuff that might not appeal to you guys, but stuff like, you know, that musical Wicked based on Wizard of Oz, and then the actual movie, The Wizard of Oz. Like, I mean, I can see those pieces in my head, like in 3D, and how gorgeous they'd be. And I think there's a market for it. But, you know, it's just, I don't know. There's so many things. Like, I'd love to do a ton of different stuff. I mean, it's constantly in my head. But as far as like an absolute favorite, God, what would I love to do? Boy, let me think for a minute. Something like, you know what? I think if I had to do something really that I'd love to go after, but I'm not really sure how to even do it or who has it, would be some of the Hammer stuff. Christopher Lee Dracula, I love. Jane Fonda, Barbarella. I'd love to do a Barbarella piece. It'd be great. Raquel Welch. What was the movie? The Caveman, the Harryhausen movie. Was it Harryhausen? Million Years BC.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, yeah, I think it was Million.
Like that. There's just so many things. Like my head's always popping. Like if I'm watching something, I'm like, oh my God, that would make a cool statue. That'd make a great statue.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of that stuff, and then some B-movie stuff. But you know, again, you've got to look at the market and see what people want and what people want to collect. You know.
Yeah. We're to some of the questions from the fans now, and one of the questions was, since you're talking about licenses, would you ever consider the Hannibal TV show or Breaking Bad license?
You know what? I never say never, but I don't. TV shows are hard because when they're gone for a couple years or 5 years or 10 years, they've got to be like super iconic where like 30 years from now, you're still going to be talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I won't name names, but there are some statues that I've thought about pursuing where I'm like, God, would somebody, like my Munsters, right? That was 50 years after the show premiered, and people bought those in droves. You know, I told people, you know, because I was like, I mean, teensy tiny when I did those Munsters, and I was like, I did the clock. I don't know if you remember the clock with the Spot wrapping his tail around it. But I said to everyone, like, you guys, I cannot afford to have a warehouse full of clocks. I'm only going to make what you buy. I'm only going to make what you buy. And I think we made like 115 of those. And if you even look on Facebook, if you can find one, you're lucky to find one. But I know like a whole set went for like $7,000 a couple weeks ago. And so it's like one of those things where it's like, if you're going to do something like Hannibal or Breaking Bad, you have to think like 50 years from now, are people going to know who those characters are and want to collect them and want to buy them? And I just don't know, you know, and, you know, I just don't honestly know.
I'm going to be talking about Breaking Bad 50 years from now. When I have a kid, when he turns 4, I'm going to be like, hey, watch this show. This is the best show you're ever going to see, right?
It is the best show. And seriously, after I finished watching that show, I had to stop watching any other show because it wouldn't be fair, you know, after watching that show, because I'll be comparing it to Breaking Bad. So that's why.
That's what I agree with it. The A-Team.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I'm totally open to it. I mean, if, you know, some of the stuff is, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, I'm totally open to it. And my God, Trevor Grove, I mean, he loves Breaking Bad. That is like, he absolutely adores that show. He would kill those pieces.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Stir Fry, did you say the A-Team? Sorry, Stir Fry, did you say something about the A-Team?
Yeah, I was trying to make a joke about the A-Team being the best show on.
Oh, wait,
it is. It's another good one.
The
Bulletproof barrels.
You know the Munsters. Speaking of the Munsters, I'm here in Texas. There's a town called Waxahachie, and there's this family.
They did the house, right?
Yeah, it's a full replica, and I have not been there. But my friend Howard Simpt, if he ever comes down, you know, he's a sculptor. I said, hey, I got this perfect thing you might want to do if you ever come here, because I was going to take him and check that out. I've never been, but it's completely. It's like
that is so cool.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's been all over the news. Like, it's been all over the news. They have a big Halloween charity party, I think, every year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's cool.
One of the things. So I would love to do the Addams Family, and you know, one of the things is that sometimes I'm just like, let's just try it and pray we get the license. And so we sculpted Morticia, and you know, that whole license, searching for the license, trying to figure that whole thing out, has been in like a holding pattern for about 2 years. But you know, you just got to cross your fingers and see what happens.
Is it difficult? I know Sideshows ran into it, and I know Prime One has as well. Have you ran into issues with actor likenesses? Like, you know, you're doing the piece, but then the actor won't sign off on their likeness. Have you had to deal with that?
Yeah. So basically, like, the way it works is that, you know, when the studio, like the old days, the studio just owned the show. So, like Universal made a deal with Fred Gwynn of Monte Carlo. So Universal approved the likenesses. It didn't actually go to them, which, you know, they weren't alive. So it'd have been the estate, which actually can even be more difficult if the actor isn't there and you're looking for like their aunt or niece or uncle, whatever, to approve it. But other stuff that I've gone after, you know, like with Elvira, she approves everything. She's super hardcore into her own merch. Like, and with other stuff, it went through Warner Brothers, like my Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. And that one just sailed through. It was so easy. It was wonderful. It was really good. But yeah, basically, like if you're dealing with an actor, you're going to deal with either their management or them personally, or just depending on what level they're at or what the movie is, you know?
Yeah.
And for the most part, I've never had difficulty. And I know at times, you know, there have been little issues, but, you know, I don't think it's that big a deal, to be perfectly honest.
Speaking of that, Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, one of the people in the group chat asked whether or not, and I forget who asked it. I'm sorry, I just wrote down the question,
Sure.
so I apologize. But they were asking if you had any plans to do a Michael Keaton Batman and revisit some of that. So as a compatible piece, or even a Jack Nicholson Joker or Penguin, whatever, anything from that Batman 89 or Batman Returns 92 line to go along with that Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman?
You know what? I'm not being coy, but I'll tell you there is something else kind of cooking, but I can't really tell you what it is. But if I went in deep into that, because that Batman 89, that was like, I hadn't read comic books for a while. I hadn't really I wasn't really focused into that world for a while. And I remember vividly the trailer for that 89 Batman movie. And just like, oh my God, what is this? Like, we used to sneak into superhero movies because we were embarrassed. You know what I mean? Or you had to be like, if you weren't a kid, if you were older than a kid to go see some of these movies. And then it was like, this is like a movie for adults. Like, this is super crazy. And it's a super long story, so I won't get into it. But I was like obsessed with the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman when I lived in Boston at the time, and there was a place called Mostly Posters, and he got posters from everywhere. And I went in, and he was like, "Oh, I just got this thing for the new Batman movie." And I'm like, "What is it?" And he was like, "They're the subway posters." And he pulled out these 6 foot long by 4 foot tall posters, and they were like, it was just her face. It was that iconic image of her face with her claws and that whatever. And you could see the claws up close. And it was like, fish hooks and all this crap on her claws. And I was just like obsessed with her costume. And it was just crazy. I won't even get into it, but it's like, I like tracked down the guy that made the costume, the guy that made the claws, the guy that made all the stuff. So when we did our Catwoman, I had all this reference. But to go back to the question, if I went in like hardcore on the 89, 92, all the Michael Keaton stuff, you got to have Jack Nicholson, and I at the moment, like, I couldn't release the Joker if I wanted to,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. But there's other stuff. I mean, there is other stuff coming. I mean, 3 or 4 Michelle Pfeiffer Catwomans, I'd be thrilled,
Well, one of the questions from the group, they did ask, they said that the Batman Returns Catwoman is going for crazy amounts on the secondary market. Any chance you will do a new run on that piece from the same mold or possibly do a different sculpt?
No, you know what? I won't do a second run of it. But I wouldn't say like no to a new Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, because there are things that I would love to kind of tweak and kind of like improve on or kind of change a little bit. I did one re-release, and that was my Julie Newmar Catwoman, and that was because that was the first piece of the 66 line that I did, and a lot of guys that bought those things in droves were like, I want to start collecting, because we're not done yet. We still have 5 more villains to go, and Alfred, and a lot of guys were like, I want to start collecting this stuff, and I can go on eBay and find everybody except for Catwoman, because she was my first piece. And she was made in lower numbers. So I went and I tweaked her, re-released her, and people weren't super thrilled with that. The people that owned her weren't super thrilled with her. The people that didn't own it were thrilled. But I don't want to just like, you know what I mean? As respectful as I can be to you guys that buy the stuff, I don't want you to think, oh shit, in 3 years I can just go buy it again. He's going to re-release it,
Yeah. I want to compliment you on that egghead. I'm amazed by how good that is. I'm sure it's underrated. But it's just a really cool piece. I really think it's well done.
Yeah. Well, wait till we get around to Mad Hatter, then you can compliment me on an underrated piece. It's because it's like you have to hit the 4 villains, right? Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler, Joker. But then there's like Egghead, Mr. Freeze, Bookworm, Mad Hatter, and King Tut. Yeah. And for me, that rounds out like the big top 9 villains, right?
Yeah.
And I've had crazy requests from people wanting Ma Barker and Shame and all. I'm like, no. I draw the line at King Tut. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
But then we'll do Alfred, and then we've got a really nice little group. The only other one that I kind of teased is I'd love to do a brand new Julie Newmar Catwoman, because I just think she's the hottest thing ever. I'd love to do another Julie Newmar Catwoman. And then I'd love to do Yvonne Craig's Batgirl on her Batgirl cycle. I think that would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
What about a Green Hornet and Kato? Just,
you know what? I'd do it in a heartbeat, but I don't know. It's not like, I don't know who has that license. I don't know where that is.
Right.
And then I don't, and then when you deal with Bruce Lee, which I can see in the background, I don't know. Has anybody ever done a Cato licensed product?
I haven't
think they
seen
have.
that.
Interbay made a figure, a 1/6 scale figure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to look into. I mean, I'd certainly do it. I mean, people that love the 66 show always ask for that. So,
well, I know you'd have a buyer right there.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely. Absolutely.
All right, Lawrence, do we have any questions from inside the chat?
So the 89 Batman was one of them. Another question was, is there anything that Tweeterhead does that folks can be on the lookout for? I think that you're probably aware, Chad, in this community, there's recasts that happen,
Sure.
which is a blight on really a lot of you guys and the companies who make these pieces. And so someone from Costa Rica was asking and saying, hey, I'm from Costa Rica. We get some pieces down here, but it's hard to tell. I don't know. So is there anything your company does that people could be on the lookout for to make sure that it's a true Tweeterhead sort of piece?
Honestly, I mean, the recast that I've seen, and I've only seen a couple from my early stuff. Like the paint jobs have been so phenomenally bad, it's really easy to tell. But again, like if it doesn't come in packaging, if it doesn't have like a back stamp on the bottom of it with all the official licensed info, and those are all like things you can look out for, because those are certainly not going to be, no one's going to recast the back stamp to one of these statues. You know what I mean? And I don't think, I think the recasters, the amounts they probably make to make the exact same boxes that we do, these big, beautiful presentation boxes, I think that's kind of virtually impossible. So I would just say, like, look at the piece, see what the quality's like, look underneath it, and then ask like what kind of packaging it comes in. But I've seen a lot of my early stuff, nothing new, nothing in the Superpowers line, nothing my 66 line. I've seen some Munster stuff recast, but you can tell immediately, just like, oh my God, I'd never let that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, let's do another giveaway really fast. I've got the Cryptozoic Harley Quinn Puddin' Pop. This is not even on the shelves yet. It will be, I think, in the next month or so. But this is a artist proof that they sent me to show everybody. So let's go to Jeff.
All right. Juan Kimosabi.
We just cannot make this stuff up, folks. We just can't.
Juan Kimosabi, are you in the chat?
All right. Well, if he is, email me at thebatmanstatuecollector@gmail.com.
Oh.
I couldn't spell it.
Give him that popsicle. We got it. We're doing good.
Not a popsicle, and then a pudding pop.
One more quick question from the group.
Yeah, sure.
People were wondering about replacement parts and just some of the other things that are specific to maybe you, if they have a replacement part need, or if something came, and what your policy is, and what kind of turnaround time they might be able to expect for a replacement.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird like I'll make it short. Basically, like when I got into this, and you can order, when we order our pieces, I didn't realize that I can ask, oh, this part might be kind of difficult, so let's get an extra so many of these parts. And so I know there are some folks that they got their Supergirl, and the little cloud that Streaky, the little cat, pops into was broken, or Streaky was broken. And so basically it's just like, get a hold of Debbie at tweeterhead.com, and she's the girl that works with me, a friend of mine, and we'll replace anything. But the only thing I ask is just to be a teensy bit patient, because we don't have a lot of the stuff on hand, but we can get it. And I know, like with Supergirl, there were a couple issues with her cape. which I think we fixed. And with Joker, some of the people, the gas coming out had like some of the cards had snapped off. So I am down 100% to replace the parts. But again, it's one of those things that like, if you can just give us a little bit of time to do it, but we will not like forget about you guys.
So how does that work? Do you have to contact the factory and they ship over things, or do they ship over extra parts with the big shipment of all the statues?
That was like, if I was smarter, which I am now, then I would be like, oh, this piece looks like it's going to be fragile. Let's get just like 50 of those extra pieces just to have them on hand. But I haven't been like that. So then it's like, oh my God, you have 3 streakies that their tail broke off. So then we have to go back and ask them to make us 3 streakies, which, isn't something that's super easy to do, but they'll certainly do it. And they're really, I mean, the places that I work with are just so fantastic and so nice and really accommodating that it can absolutely happen. If somebody doesn't want to wait for it, then we have to figure another solution out. Or if they're like, his fingers snapped off, I can glue it back on. Could I get $20 off or $25 off or whatever, or free shipping on the next thing? That's cool too. But like I do not want to have anybody unhappy. You know what I mean? So whatever it takes.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Let's see. Anybody else have a question? I know there's probably some people.
Actually, I do have a question. Go ahead. Was that you, Ronnie?
Yeah. All right. So, are you guys looking at moving in the direction of horror pieces? I know you did the It piece, and I'm hoping you guys are moving in a horror direction with some stuff.
Yeah. What's funny is that Pennywise. I'll tell you honestly, I love that movie. I thought it was so awesome, and obviously I grew up in the '80s, and my mom. I don't know if she was a great mom or awful mom, but she would sneak me and my brother and my friends in to all the scary movies in the 80s because you had to be accompanied by an adult. Right. And so she would sneak us in. As soon as the movie started, the lights went down. She'd go out the exit door in the front of the theater. And
awesome.
It was the only one that she didn't leave was Halloween, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, the first one. And the lights came up, and she was sitting next to us. And I'm like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And she's like, "That movie was fantastic." But I never really thought about it because, again, like my passion has always just been like DC Comics. As a kid, I poured over those who's who of DC Comics when they were the comic books, and then the binder with the inserts you'd buy and punch into the binder. But with Pennywise, it's been very well received, and now we have started thinking about who could we do? What else could we do?
I would love to see the Jigsaw puppet on the bicycle.
Oh my goodness!
To throw that out there. If you ever want to do like the Saw series, or
again, it's like I don't all that kind of stuff just takes some time to figure out who's got that license. Is it available to somebody if it's snapped up? They're not using it. But yeah, I mean, I grew up on those Friday the 13th movies, Halloween. You name it. I mean, some of the more obscure ones, My Bloody Valentine, I love that movie. Did you ever see Tourist Trap?
Yes.
You gotta go see Tourist Trap. Get it. It's really good. It's if you watch it in the dark, it's actually kind of creepy. Actually, it's got one scene in it, and I won't give it away, but it's got a scene in it, and it kind of has gone down in history as being one of the scariest scenes in a horror film.
Oh wow! Tourist Trap. I'll have to look that up.
Tourist Trap is Pamela Bach from Charlie's Angels and a couple other people, but it's about a guy in this tiny little town, and basically he just makes everybody that comes into the town, he makes them into wax dummies.
Oh, okay.
That sounds creepy.
It's really good though.
It sounds like there's a lot of horror fans in the chat. A lot of people are excited.
Yeah. No, I would love it. I mean, those Freddy Krueger movies, I love those. Sometimes it's hard with a character like Freddy because he's been done so well before. Yeah. What do you do differently? What else can you do with that as far as a 3-dimensional piece that's going to be enticing to people to get? Yeah.
I think a lot of people would really like Michael Myers. That's one that it doesn't seem like it's done as often as some of the other characters.
Well, I think that was a really weird situation as far as I don't. This is me way before I ever had Tweeterhead. But I always remember hearing that it was a hard thing to get because there were so many movies and there were so many different companies that made those movies that everybody owned a piece of it. And so it was really hard to like just pay someone to make Michael Myers. And so when I saw the Pop Culture Shock Michael Myers, I was like, holy crap, like somebody actually did it. Like, and it was really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Pennywise, love that piece. I would love to do more horror. You know, there's a lot out there to kind of think about and get into. So
yeah, it sold out too, the exclusive, right, on your website.
Yeah,
it did. Exclusive.
I missed it too, Ronnie.
If you're interested, like if you email Debbie@tweeterhead.com, we have a waiting list.
All right, me and Ronnie are on that.
Yeah. Robbie, type right now. I do want the exclusive.
Yeah, because I didn't know it was gonna blow up like that, and it just did. But you know that I love that movie. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to do. You know, needless to say, down the road.
Chat. I have a quick question. I am getting the Orko, and I think it's shipping out on Friday, which I'm really, really excited about. And I know it's said on the website, on SciShow's website, that they partnered up with you to do this piece. How's the process goes, and will there be, like you had mentioned before, that you love the He-Man line, you want to do more out of it? Are you going to try and continue like a 1/6 scale line for the He-Man? Because if you are, I'm on it like white on rice.
You know what? So the Orko, it was just one of these awesome opportunities, because like, you know, I saw their stuff and I freaking loved their He-Man and Skeletor and Evelyn and She-Ra, and it was like, oh, can we work on something together? And you know, what could it be? And you know, as you know, with my superpowers line, we've done a couple quirky pieces like Mixelplick and you know, like we've got a couple things coming out, which I don't know how well they're going to do, but it was one of those things where it's like, you know, what can we do to really like test the waters here? That's not Skeletor, not He-Man. And it was like, oh, Orko, let's do Orko or Madame Raz, one or the other. Right. And so we did Orko, and you know, all I could tell you is that my dream, if my dream comes true, it will be to that world that they created to kind of help build on that with other characters. And it would be Hordak. I'll just tell you, if I had my dream lineup, Hordak, Teela, Beastman. You'd have to alternate good and bad, but Hordak, Teela, Beastman, probably Man-at-Arms, Trapjaw.
Trapjaw.
The Sorceress would be cool.
Oh yeah,
the Sorceress would be cool.
Sorceress. And like I said, like we do sometimes, I just do go on a whim, and I'm like, hey, let's like work this stuff out and see what it could look like if it does become a reality. And so I'll tell you, most of those characters, I said, we already have designs for already done.
Come on.
Jeez, man.
The Sorceress is one that's really weird because it's like, you know, it's a chick with like, you know, like bird wings, you know, and like this bird on her head. And so how do you do that? And how do you do it really cool? And, you know, I mean, you know, you look at their Skeletor and their He-Man that they did, and you're just like, my God, they interpreted these characters into fantastic. Did anybody see that awful, no offense, because I think it's awful, but the sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman?
No, I haven't seen it.
It was called like, what was it called? It was called like, was it called The Huntsman or something?
Yeah, The Huntsman. Yeah, it was like,
and it was
Hemsworth, right?
Yeah, it was Chris Hemsworth, Charlize Theron was the queen, and then Emily Blunt was like the queen's ice sister, like some weird thing that was not in the Snow White mythology at all. She had like this weird bird thing on her head, and she looked so utterly ridiculous. And I was like, oh my God, if the Sorceress was brought out of the cartoon to real life, she'd look exactly that ridiculous. So how do you make it to where it looks really cool? So, you know, we'll figure it out. I mean, you know, trying to be as coy as I can, but really, like, that is, besides DC, man, that is, I grew up on He-Man. Like, that is like, just like, there are so many things you could. I mean, can you imagine like a fifth scale like Stratos? Like, how cool would that character be? Like, you know, it's like I'm thinking of all these B-listers, you know, or like you get to redo and you do like battle damage Skeletor and battle damage He-Man like fighting each other.
You are gonna make my wife divorce me.
Yeah. Or like, and again, and this is just stuff that I have pitched out where I'm like, if I could get this stuff I'd like to do would be like, you know, if you look at that He-Man behind, I don't know which one of you guys it is. I'm trying to
everybody.
Yeah, He-Man. I mean, imagine like a big old battle cat behind him in that world, right?
Please,
like,
please.
So really, it's something that, I mean, I think that a lot of people don't know that there are just these hardcore He-Man fans out there, but we're out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us. I mean, we all grew up in the 80s, you know, and He-Man was one of the cartoons that you just catch on, you know, whenever you can. It's like, you know, there's no DVR. It's just whenever it's on, you try to watch it and you just fall in love with it, you know.
Well, and this makes it cool and relevant again. You know, this really takes it to a next level. It makes it brings it into this millennium. It brings it into this new century. I think it's really important to do that with a character like that and continue to let it evolve. And that would be really cool. You're gonna end up getting me divorced, but that's
I always think He-Man is like, I always say like, and I've said it just recently because, you know, I haven't watched it, but there's this new She-Ra like animated thing on Netflix, right?
I watched it.
Some people
watched it too.
Some people hate it. Some people like it. Some people hated it the very first time they saw her. And I'm like, you guys, like, whether you hate it or like it or not, you got to realize like this was just a toy from when we were kids. I mean, this property is like evergreen, right? It is going to be around forever. It just keeps reinventing itself. Yeah. So just deal with it if you don't like it for now, because who knows what's going to happen in 5 years, 10 years.
Right. The comics have been great. We've been talking about the comics, and DC sort of booted the Masters of the Universe comics back in, you know, 2012, 2013. Dan Abnett wrote a lot of those, and they've been fantastic, and they've been able to tie that into, you know, He-Man versus Thundercats and He-Man versus DC and He-Man versus Injustice, and those if you're into comics, Chad, pick those up because they've been really good.
Yeah, do you guys have any of those Sideshow Thundercats?
I have the Mumra.
The Mumra is
this one over here.
Awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, the Mumra.
I see the Pop Culture Shock one.
Yeah, the Mumra is amazing, and I'm still on the fence about Lino, but the Mumra piece is a beautiful piece.
I love Lino. If you look at that face on Lino, man, those eyes are like incredible. I mean, Thundercats is kind of another one. It's like unfortunately not as cool as He-Man, in my opinion, because He-Man was such a thought out world, but Thundercats is pretty damn cool too, you know?
Yeah.
One thing I just want to say, one thing I'm so impressed with you is your willingness to dive into B characters or C characters, because
that's where it's at.
So many companies, they only do, and I'm a Batman fan, they only do Batman and Joker, but you are willing to go to those characters that people really want and have been
wish
wanting.
The Star Wars people did it.
No, you have to do it. I mean, for me, like, you know, and I've told Chris this before, but it's like, you know, this year, like we did Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Robin. Now I could go after some of those cool characters that I grew up on, that I loved, you know, and others like the Creeper. I love that character, the Creeper, the Demon, Raja Ghul. I mean, who else? I mean, other stuff, even like, I mean, the other day I was like, oh my God, that character, that Roxy Rocket from the animated show, what would she look like if she was part of the Superpowers line, you know?
Hey, Rodney, I know there's a question that you want to ask. What character do you want made, Rodney?
It would have to be a Two-Face.
Oh, we got to hit Two-Face. Yeah.
I have to have a Two-Face.
So the other thing too, so Two-Face. So next year, we're going to focus heavy on villains, but I'm going to try to stay kind of away a little bit from the whole Batman world, because I really hit that hard last year, I think. Batgirl will come out. We've got a Poison Ivy we're going to come out with.
Wow, nice.
I'd love to do, when you see this Poison Ivy, it's nothing like anyone's ever done. And Two-Face, I would love to get to next year. But But what was the one I was just thinking about? That
I think you told me about maybe a penguin, maybe or something.
Ooh.
We were talking about penguin, which eventually we'll get around to penguin sooner than later. But you know, everyone now that we've got Starfire, Robin, Donna Troy, now that we're in this kind of Perez world, everyone's asking for Zatanna, and as much as like I would love to do her in that top hat and fishnets and everything, again, like it's been done so well, especially by Sideshow. I mean, that Zatanna is freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, beautiful.
No one's done the Perez Zatanna, right? And I personally think if we could tweak a couple things like that crazy red thing and on her forehead, you know, she could be pretty awesome looking, you know? So we got to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody did, you mentioned Donna Troy. Somebody in the chat asked about could there be a Donna Troy variant in her black costume?
Oh, black outfit. There could be, but I'm not necessarily like, it's nothing I'm going to jump at. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't really, that's part of the comics that I never really followed, to be perfectly honest, when she changed to that character. But I sometimes have to question, like, is it just like a repaint that we're going to throw out there to like make money on? You know what I mean? Or is it really cool or is it not? And, you know, I guess it's the exact same outfit that she had. It's just black with like the stars kind of all through it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So maybe that's, you know, maybe that's something we can add on to. I will tell you something that when you ask about the variants and like re-releasing our Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, you know, Joker came out at a time when people weren't necessarily like really into this like superpowers world that I was collecting. And then I ordered, you know, we put in the order, he came out, we sold out. And then a lot of people are asking for, hey, I want to get that Joker again. I want to get that Joker again. So we might do a reissue of that Joker, but on a much simpler base without the smoke and everything. And the difference might be that he would have like a black and white tuxedo on, but his like the reason it would be different is that you'd have the Joker head, but we'd also include like the red hood, the hood and the cape.
That would be great. That black tuxedo. That would be awesome.
So it's a way to not like crush you guys who have like what Chris has in the background, but it's a way to let the people that couldn't get the Joker because it was a little bit more expensive than other stuff be able to get it, and then everyone's kind of happy, I hope, in the long run, you know.
And I think everybody would want both. I would want both because it's very different and it's two different genres. So I love it. It's awesome.
Good.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Good.
Really cool. Well, let's pause here real quick and do another quick giveaway. Jeff, if you're willing to do that. So we got 2 left. We've got the Batman diecast metal. We'll do that one next.
Is David Igo still in the chat or no?
I'm not sure. We love David Igo.
Yeah, I know.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Deck of cards. Deck of cards.
I see him in the chat right there. There he is.
Yeah.
There he is. Congratulations, Deck of Cards. Email me at thebatmansessionclicker@gmail.com. Awesome. Congratulations. Real quick, I saw in the chat, Jeremy Alejandro asked if there's a possibility of a Christopher Reeve Superman.
Oh, no.
That'd be a good one.
Oh, wow.
All I can say is I don't know, to be perfectly honest. Like, I've never explored that. I've never asked, so I don't know if the answer is yes or no, to be perfectly honest.
Okay. That's
it's
awesome.
Nothing that I would never not do it, but, you know, that would be, again, one of those things where it's just going to have to be stellar, like beyond belief, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions from the gallery?
I mean, because going back to just the He-Man, I just to refer back that I watched She-Ra with my kids, and I have all boys, right? Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things like, all right, let's give it a shot. I love the Transformers that Netflix done. Let's see how it is. And they love it. They actually like the show. It's a good show.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, if they could do that with She-Ra, what happens if they came out with a He-Man cartoon in that same kind of like style, like a Voltron and the She-Ra style? And
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything at all about any of that world, but I would guess that if that doesn't happen, I mean, I'd bet you $1 million that's going to happen, because I mean, if that takes off, like, why not? I mean,
I was gonna say, if She-Ra took off, why not He-Man? And I can't imagine like how much more wanted these, He-Man line would be. And
so,
if there's money to be made, they will do it. 100%.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to what you guys have in store for us, for the He-Man fans.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, hopefully good news like in a couple of months, next month or the month after. And but again, like with DC, if there are characters you guys love, characters that you want to see, like, I mean, I am just like an open book. Like, let's just make it, get it out there. I mean, there are so many characters. I mean, just so many. I mean, I've talked about it at length on my videos and my posts, but like, the Metal Men would be I just know these characters. They might not be the most popular characters in the world, but I just know what they would look like in 3D, and they would look so damn cool. Like the Metal Men would look fantastic. There's a lot of Wonder Woman villains that are just super understated. That would look great. That Nubia character I've been talking about like crazy. I'm dying to make her.
Folks love that.
Or not.
Yeah.
I mean, she's freaking awesome. And so I'd love to make her. Who was the one that took over for Wonder Woman? What was her? Oh, Artemis. I'd love to make Artemis. Hades. There's just, besides Batman, which, don't get me wrong, I love Batman, but there's like just so many other worlds to explore with DC,
Etrigan
would be cool.
Etrigan would look cool.
Etrigan, fantastic. I mean, characters like the Riddler, I mean, we've actually been working on for like 2 years, Robot Brainiac. That's going to light up, his eyes will light up and everything.
That's cool. Oh my gosh.
That'd be tight.
We're working on a Dark Side right now. Which,
Ryan.
is really damn cool. But it just, like, I always just say, like, the sky's the limit. It's really, it's up to the people that buy it, up to the people that collect it, like, but let's just figure out what people want and make it. That's what we're here for.
Well, Ronnie is smiling ear to ear with the Two-Face.
Yeah.
Oh, Two-Face.
It's just so cool how many characters you have at your fingertips, and it makes a lot of collectors really excited. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's why. I mean, I think I've said it before. Like, that's why I called it like the Superpowers collection, because those figures back in the '80s, Kenner had like the vault of characters, like and they did, like, the first wave was like all the classic characters you grew up on, right? The second wave, Firestorm, all these, Cyborg, all these characters that you're like, oh my God, like, I remember those, or I don't know who those characters are. Then the third wave came along, and it was Cyclotron, and who was the other one? The oh my God, the Egyptian one. What was that? What was his name?
I can't remember.
He was purple and yellow. Golden Pharaoh, and all these characters that I think, and I could be wrong, them because if they create these characters, then they obviously don't pay royalties on the characters because they own them, etc. But I think they just dive bombed that whole collection, because we could have been, I mean, the plans, I don't know if you guys have ever seen any of this stuff they were planning, but they were planning like all these subsets. They were planning like a whole Green Lantern Corps of figures, a whole Batcave playset, Wonder Woman's Invisible Jet. Like, they had years worth of stuff that they were planning.
Wow, what happened to it?
It just, when those figures don't sell, then they just cut it off. They stopped it, I remember a kid, like, it was like He-Man, G.I. Joe, which I love G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, right?
Oh my gosh.
This could be a really long story. I'll make it short though. But I was a really tenacious kid, right? So I would like look at the action figure package, look on the back, look at like, oh, LGN made this. Where are they? In New York? And this is back in the day. I'd go to a payphone. I'd have a pocket full of quarters. I'd call LGN. And I remember I was on the phone with LGN, and the woman said to me, I said, like, I forget what I asked her, but she said, we can't, right now, everyone's gone. They're at Toy Fair. And I was like, what's a Toy Fair? What is a Toy Fair? And she's like, oh, Toy Fair's something in New York. And she's like, who's your sales associate? And I'm like, I don't know what his name is. I don't know who it is. And she's like, what's your address? I'll just send you the Toy Fair catalog in the mail. And I was like, what the hell is this? So all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, I get this big, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those Toy Fair catalogs. If you go on eBay, you could find them because these are masterpieces. They did a pre-Toy Fair catalog that came out like in January, and then the Toy Fair catalog came out in February, and they were literally like big, gorgeous catalogs of all the new products coming out for the year. And you would go to Toy Fair, you go into the showroom, they give you the catalog, you would have all your stuff to remember to order from. And I've got a bunch of the ones that have superpowers, but I just started calling. I called LJN, I called Kenner, I called Hasbro, I called Mattel, and I just started getting all these catalogs in the mail every year because I was on their mailing list. And you would just get all these gorgeous catalogs. But going back to Silverhawks, what they did a lot of the times, like, Darkseid's Tower of Darkness, whatever it was called, it was in the Toy Fair catalog for the first time ever. And as you know, they never produced it because nobody ordered it enough. So they just, okay, we're not going to produce it. The kids will never know it existed. But it was in this catalog, this beautiful picture. And I don't know who made Silverhawks. I think it was Hasbro or Kenner. But in one of the catalogs, they had a big Hawk Haven playset. And it was the coolest thing ever. And it never came to fruition because the toy line, they killed it. So
I tell you what, if you go to my Facebook group tonight or tomorrow sometime, I shared a deal that somebody had posted where it's like 167 images of all the old Sears wish books.
Oh, hell yeah.
All of those 80s, like all of those toys, Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, all the original ads. It's so cool to go back and see those.
There's a website you could go to, and they actually have the whole wish book digitized, and you could go in and just click on every page and move the page so you can see it. And, all the clothes, all the appliances, and then in the back, the best part, all the toys. But those were, oh my God, those were the best things. Give me 1 sec. I've got that Kenner catalog. I'm just going to grab it real quick. Hold on one quick second.
That's awesome.
I'll just show you guys.
First, he's going to show us his mattress.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, while we're waiting on that, I just wanted to take a second. We'll do the giveaway here in just 1 second. But I just wanted to take a minute and thank all of you out there, not only for watching tonight, but for watching over the last 2 years. I can't believe, I just put my first video out there of my room tour. I wasn't really expecting much from it. I was talking to Thor about that earlier tonight, and it just means so much to me that you guys take the time to watch not only me, but also, other great channels like Stir Fry and Darth Castle's channel, PJ, Paradox Nerd. All of you guys put up in so much work, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you guys out there making this community so cool and so positive, especially the guys in this room. You guys are all amazing. And I just want to thank you not only for being here, but also being a fellow collector. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Congratulations, man. Well deserved. 2 years.
Yeah, congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, so I'll show you really quick. So the style guide I was telling you about. So this is like this.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
And then if you turn it over, like on the back, so it's this gorgeous. It's just this gorgeous like binder of just like all of this. Just like tons and tons of like reference, obviously stuff. I don't know why he needed a spaceship, but
hold it up a little higher, little higher. Right. There we go. There we go.
Oh wow!
It was just like tons and tons of stuff, like Batgirl, like just stuff like that. But it's just chock full of stuff, and that is really awesome. But this was, and again, go on eBay. You can find them dirt cheap sometimes. But this is like this is the what is that? What year? Oh, 1986, like the hot stuff year.
That's cool.
And they've got Fluppy Dogs, Chuck Norris, Karate Commandos, Centurions, Droids, Care Bears, Mask, Play-Doh, Hug-a-Bunch, and Superpowers. But like I said, it's just this gorgeous catalog, right, of all the stuff that they would be, selling.
That's awesome.
But I'll show you this really quick. This is pretty cool. They put all the time and effort into like something like this with all the characters.
That's cool.
And then you got to the back where it was just like this big giant. Like, oh my god, and it shows you like the inside of it and everything.
Did they ever make that?
That's cool.
What do you say?
Did they ever make that with?
No.
Wow.
Not at all.
That's cool.
But hey, I'm so sorry, you guys. It's after 8. I gotta run.
Yeah, let's do your giveaway real quick for the Tweeterhead. Let's do that real quick for Bud and Lou.
Nice.
Courtesy of Tweeterhead. Thank you very much. It's going home to one of you guys.
That's a beautiful statue. Yeah.
So cool.
That one's really cool.
All right, Jeff, here we go.
Some lucky, funny name person.
This one, I'm not even sure how to.
Bounce it.
Nackenbeiser.
Hold it up to the camera.
Yeah.
Nackenbeiser.
That's kind of what it.
Chat.
Must be from the Germans.
Nackenmeister, you still here? You got to be in the chat to win. So let's see.
Oh, you are. You missed out.
That was so.
Oh, you're SOL.
That was really so.
All right, going once.
You're gonna be hating life.
Oh, there.
Oh, he's like, I'm here.
He's here. All right, congratulations! You just won the Bud and Lou from Tweeterhead. Congratulations!
All right.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Good pickup.
Very cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, Chad, I know you have to go. Let's wrap up the show. I want to thank you guys, all of you, for being here. Chad, I can't believe it. This is a dream come true for
let's
me.
do it again. I want to do it again. Let's do it.
Oh, that's awesome. Just let me know when you're available, and that'd be awesome. I'd love that. And I also, again, I want to thank all of you for the support for the last 2 years. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Thank you for everybody that has watched. And again, without you, I would not be here. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And here's to another great couple years. So here we go. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And again, Chad, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a good night, everybody.
Everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.